So let's just go through a couple of easy examples in terms of windows and doors and look at the direct way that some of these things are done in CAD, how they're done in Revit, and then look at in real time some of those tracking things that I talked about. So the project that I have here is, it's actually one of the just out-of-the-box Revit sample projects. It's the advanced basic sample project. So I've taken those and then exported them into CAD to show you some of these things. So if we look at this floor plan, and we look at this window, and we look at this door, we look at the tags associated with them, you know, we look at when you start getting into such things and moving them around, that if I move this, oh, I'm doing this the wrong way. You have to forgive me, I've not used CAD in a little bit, but if I move this window, yes, I've moved it in plan. So I move this window in plan. Let's say I move it to the left 2 feet. But if I now go to my north elevation and I look at this same window, the window has not been moved. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about that tracking exercise, that, you know, I've moved my window or my door, or I've changed sizes of said window or door in plan, but I've now got to go to the elevation and make the exact same movement. So now what I'm doing is I'm moving something in 2 different places rather than being able to move it in one place and it move everywhere because it is a 3D element. And then if we take it one step further and say, okay, this window has the window tag of 46. If this were to change, let's say, to 57, it's only changed to 57 in one place. So now I've got to make sure that I go through the very due diligent exercise of going through all of these window tags and changing that annotative component to the correct number. And depending on what the scale of your project is, I'm sure you can see that this can become an extremely lengthy exercise that basically you're just chasing yourself. And these are some of the things where the human error comes into play. You know, this window here is 4 feet wide, but let's say that this window type, the modularization on this building changes, and all of our 4-foot windows need to become 6-foot windows. You know, it becomes this tracking exercise that you're constantly chasing after yourself. So if we look at this exact same floor plan in Revit, and we look at this same window, and we look at if we move this window 2 feet over, and then we're in our north elevation, that, let me close some of these windows here. I want north. I want to know that whenever I move this window, that I don't have to worry about going to every single place that this window moves and making sure that that change happened. And, you know, and let's think about this in the sense of a door. If I move a door, I want to know that whenever I move it in my 1/8-inch plan and I go to my 1/4-inch enlarged plan, that I don't have to move that door 2 different times, that I don't have to maybe update an XREF or whatever way that you do that, that if I'm moving this, this is moving in real time. If I have a dimension associated with this window, that dimension is updating itself in real time. Same, you know, so that basically we're reducing this tracking exercise that we're talking about. So by doing this, if this window moved, I move it over, I now this also say, okay, I want to edit the type and I want this window to now be a foot wider. You know, it does that everywhere. It also, you can see that whenever I changed the type, that it also changed my annotative component of what my window tag is. So, and then, you know, if you take that one step further and you start to get into the window schedule, This is obviously not a typical window schedule that would go in a construction document set. It's just for the purpose of showing how easy it is to do this. But let's say, you know, all of these windows needed to change size, or they needed to change type mark. If 92 now all of a sudden needed to be 5. You're able to make that change so that it changes everywhere that that window lives. So let's say I have 100 of these windows, and I have all of them tagged. And again, you go in and you change that number to 67. Yes, I want to change that everywhere. You can see that this tracking exercise has now reduced itself considerably. So I think that sometimes when we look at people that are sometimes apprehensive to get into this BIM workflow, you really want to, these are the types of things that you get into that umbrella planning conversation and finding ways to make the program work smarter for you. If you get into the situation where, you know, depending again on the scale of your project, you can add any parameters that you need to into all of these 3D elements so that it is recording and tracking the exact information that you need that's based on your firm and your project and whatever your project deliverables are. So it has a great deal of customization that can happen here. You know, especially a lot of this can be done in your project template so that you're not reinventing the wheel every time that you start a new BIM project. And, you know, what this also does is you can see that if I have a constant, accurate description of exactly what is in my model, it also becomes a lot easier to find things. It becomes a lot easier to navigate things. Where if we go back to this CAD world, you can see that, you know, if I want to put the mark of this door, I want to associate it with the door so that this label is pulling from that door so that if this door changes room numbers, then this door tag is automatically going to change with it so that that becomes something that I'm doing once. Let's do something. Right, so I changed the mark in my door because this door tag is associated in a label that goes directly to the mark. Anytime that I change that mark in my door, I don't have to go through the exercise of making sure that it changed my door tag. And so this is a lot of, this hits on the human error part where, you know, if you have a 300,000 square foot building with 2,000 doors and someone's at work late at night changing something, human error happens, you know, and so what this does is this really not only reduces the margin of error, but it also helps you check your work faster, better, and more accurately, because at any point in time you can go to these things like door schedules and window schedules and floor plans and sections and elevations and make sure that, you know, what you see is true.